And welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of the Just Parlays show. I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, and joining me, as always, is Chris King. And together, we're going to break down some plays from the Friday card. But first of all, introductions. Chris, how's it going with you? How's your Thursday?
Boy, I'll tell you what, I've never seen as bad of kicking that I did in the Winnipeg-Montreal game last night. How you kick a 32-yard field goal, A, miss it horribly when it's not blocked, and B, miss it horribly enough that you can't even kick it out of the end zone to get the game-winning point. And then the guy comes in overtime and doinks one off the upright from 37. Between him and then Montreal's kicker in the first half hitting a 20-yarder off the upright, it had to be a terrible kicking exhibition all around. Like I said last night, it looked like Brucey from the longest yard was kicking in this game. And the sad part was Winnipeg's kicker was 19 for 21 on field goals going into that contest.
I think it's also a bit sad that Winnipeg was undefeated, and yet they don't have a kicker. I mean, or at least
that's true.
Trust. That's a problem. But
I mean, the 32-yard kick, like I said, it went 6 yards into the end zone. That's it. I mean, even if you had just kicked it sideways and kicked it out of the end zone, you would have won the game.
Did they show a replay? Was it tipped?
It wasn't tipped.
Okay.
The hold was good.
I always have to ask if there was a fingertip, a paw. So
no, I mean, I looked at it from like every different angle. They showed it about 6 times. The hold was good. He got it down. The laces were out. He had it on the tee. It's like he didn't even follow through on the kick. It's like he was trying to kick a soccer ball.
I don't know. But either way, Winnipeg ended up losing. They weren't ever really going to cover in that game. But if you had the money line, that's especially bad. But anything else jump out to you, maybe on the baseball card?
Let's see. We saw Arizona won. The White Sox.
Arizona lost for me. They won the game. I had them first 5, which really annoyed me. But,
yeah, I could see that. The White Sox were my best pick yesterday because they had Cease going, and they left it, to quote, Bob Uecker in Major League 2, they've left a small village on the base pass tonight. I mean, they loaded the bases with nobody out in the third and then proceeded to strike out twice and bounce out to third. They loaded the bases in the 8th. They had multiple guys out in almost every inning. I think they left 11 or 12 guys on. They were 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. And, of course, they found a way to lose. So Cease takes a loss despite giving up 1 run in 6 innings.
Yeah, definitely an interesting day for baseball for the limited card. Colorado almost blew what felt like a 30-run lead. St. Louis had the tying run, I believe, on base. Arenado, I think, was the go-ahead run, and he struck out looking in the 9th inning. I see James asking about Alabama and how for college football they're going to be missing their top receiver. So he took Utah plus the points. I'm assuming, James, you mean Utah State, right?
Which receiver are we talking about now? Because, I mean, we saw Jameson Williams last year go down. We saw Mechie go down. Of course, they're both gone into the league now, and Mechie's dealing with cancer. Leukemia? Yeah. I'm not even sure which top receiver we're talking about now, because compared to those guys, can you really say that they had a top receiver?
I think the one problem you have talking about receivers against Utah State is the fact that Alabama could probably just run the ball down their throats the entire game. I mean, the thing is, we saw this with Ohio State in the bowl game last year against Utah, and Utah was a top 10 team in the country. And yet Ohio State had Olave, and they also had Wilson both not show up. Their number 3 receiver. Now, you can argue that, Smith and Jigba should be, number 1 or however you want to, categorize him. But he went for like 300-plus yards, and Marvin Harrison Jr. also was very, very good. Bama, especially at the wide receiver position, they're so deep every year that I really just think that Bama should dominate in every single facet. And Utah State's getting a receiver from Bama as a transfer, which might help a little bit. But you have Bama's secondary against Utah State's secondary. Utah State's going to get killed in every facet, right? I mean, it really comes down to how many points Bama wants to win the game by. If Bama wants to win by 50, they'll win by 50. If they want to just bleed by 30 and then win by 15, they can do that. But I have a really hard time taking points against Bama in the first game of the season. because usually Bama tries to make a statement in the first game of the year. Usually.
Right. And that game, it's never easy to go to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama there, even when they're not playing well.
What is Bama laying in that game anyway? Like 30, what are they like? I was going to guess 37. They're laying 38.5.
And, if you want to look at it, you can say, well, Utah State will have a game under their belts by then because they open up against UConn the week before.
It's a great test, against UConn straight to Bama. It's a great test.
Yeah. I mean, and on the plus side, after Utah State gets smoked probably, 60-20 or whatever, then they get to go home and play Weber State.
I think my only play for the Bama game would be either Bama first half or Bama team total over. But
would you take the over straight? Would you just take the game total over?
I have to be tempted by it. I mean, if you're looking at the full game total, it's 62.5. A reminder that Blake Anderson is still the head coach at Utah State, and his defenses haven't been good ever. Like, if Bama scored 50, would you really be surprised? No. Like, they could easily score 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Probably even 8 touchdowns. Like, it's really possible they go for 50-something. So I'm looking at a team total over for Bama, maybe a first half play. If you think Bama just comes out in the first quarter and just destroys them, I think that's a possibility too. But I have a hard time
Other concern is, will Logan Bonner be able to have the success that he had last season against that Alabama secondary? And the answer probably is no.
Yeah, and Utah State was, of course, good last year. They won the conference. But Bama's a different animal. And I'm not going to go against Bama in the first game of the season in any given season. But I think I'd rather take a team total over because I know with all the uncertainties regarding the teams, I can guarantee you Utah State cannot stop Bama from scoring. That I can guarantee you.
That's a guarantee.
Yep. So that's how I'm looking at that game.
Anything jump out at you from the card yesterday?
Mostly the thing that Andrew brought up, which was Belichick being the best coach of all time and not using any of the 3 timeouts to let the Giants kick the game-winning field goal with no time left. It was a beautiful preseason type of performance from the coaching staff because, of course, he tried to avoid overtime, and I guess the Patriots didn't want Zappe to get a game-winning drive potentially because they just had all 3 timeouts and saved them for next week, which really made me laugh.
Well, I guess they didn't care.
No, that's the point. It just made me laugh. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, and of course we saw Baltimore. Tyler Huntley looked good.
Yeah.
What is it, 14-16 or something like that. Were you surprised Malik Willis got the start? Because they announced that an hour or two before kickoff that he was going to start instead of Tannehill.
I'm not, because I always remembered Vrabel being a preseason punter. Now, his team was good last year in the preseason, but I barely remember Tannehill playing or potentially not at all. It seems like Vrabel has embraced using the bench players more, and I don't see him using the starters that much at all, so I wasn't totally surprised. The Ravens closed at about 4.5. I think the bigger question moving forward is where the hell do you price the Ravens because they've won 21 straight preseason games?
It's a good question. I don't know who they have left in preseason. Is it anybody worth talking about?
I was going to say,
I'm just curious because if it's somebody good, then you might not see it. They play Arizona next week, and then they close with Washington.
Arizona is an active preseason punter with Cliff as the coach. So
Cliffy K.
Cliffy K. It might be 7 next week. Like Baltimore might be favored by a touchdown, and I still think people would still lay the wood with Baltimore.
Could you see potentially double digits with Washington? Because Ron Rivera, he doesn't seem to really give a rat's ass either.
You can really make a case, and I don't know at what point would people actually take the points. Baltimore preseason's a freight train.
It's true.
I don't know how you step in front of them.
Because, even in the, people will say, well, come on, they won 21 in a row, but who cares? But they're 19-2 against the spread in that stretch, too. So, it's hard to argue when you're – yeah. It's hard to argue with
crazy.
that.
Yeah, but when it comes to yesterday, I'm assuming that the books got absolutely murdered in preseason yesterday. The Baltimore game was a low total, the lowest total on the board, easily went over. Baltimore covered, and a bunch of money came in on Baltimore, obviously. Now, the only thing that lost was the Giants not covering the spread, but I'm sure some people blindly took Belichick getting points in preseason because they think that matters. But that game went over too. So both overs cashed. The Ravens won. I'm assuming that the books got absolutely killed yesterday. Would you agree?
Well, it wasn't a winning day for them by any stretch in that stretch, but you have to wonder how much money was getting thrown around on preseason football.
For the Ravens, I'm assuming a ton. It was 20 straight.
But comparatively to a regular NFL handle, it's just a fraction.
Oh, no, you have limits. Like NFL games, some people can bet hundreds of thousands of dollars. Preseason, your max is probably what, like 5K?
Probably. That'd be my guess.
Maybe. So, yeah, the overall maybe handle wasn't that big, but when it comes to the amount of money and where it went,
right,
I can guarantee you that Ravens game, especially with the over hitting on that low total, absolutely killed the books.
Tremble said that he had the Pats +3 and the Ravens -3.5, so came up a winner on both of those. So that's always a good.
Did you have any takeaways from
any of the games tonight that you're interested?
Well, I was going to ask, did you have any
Not really. I mean, I didn't watch too much, but I caught that. Yeah, I was just saying I caught the tail end of it. I wasn't overly interested. I was watching the Field of Dreams game more than anything else. New England, it's going to be interesting to see who actually calls the plays in the regular season because they split it between Patricia and Judge. I get the whole fact that, we're testing these things out because it's preseason, but you should already have a plan in motion for this. We shouldn't be testing these things out in August.
The way that I'm looking at it, I don't like either option. So I think it's a problem. Right. So I'm looking at it. I said before the preseason, I think New England has a losing record.
Right.
And I think they're going to go 8-9, 7-10. It sounds sacrilegious to say that Belichick's going to have a losing season, but you look at the play calling duties and you look at the overall roster, really in the offseason as well. Do you really like anything that New England did? Because I really don't. And we've talked about it before, but I look at this team on paper, and the only reason why people think this team's going to win double-digit games is because of Belichick. But on paper, this team should win like 7 games. It's really not a good team on paper.
Right, and the rest of the division is improved. Miami's better. I still find it hilarious that you see people out there saying that Miami's going to win the division and win 12 or 13 games. And
even the Jets aren't good, but they're not going to be a walkover like they've been in the last couple of years.
Right, you're not going to get smoked. You're not going to get smoked 50-14 or whatever it was.
New England could lose a game to the Jets. Like, it would not totally shock me. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, but I mean, like I said, if you look at the division as a whole, everybody has improved. New England didn't really do anything.
They got worse, in my opinion.
Right, because they lost Jackson. They traded Shaq Mason to Tampa Bay. James White retired yesterday, not like he did anything really last year because he was hurt. But they still don't really have any receivers that you can rely on. I mean, you look the rest of the division, they've got Corey Davis, they've got Elijah, or they've got more, Buffalo Higgs and Gabe Davis and those guys. Miami went out and got Tyreek Hill, and they've got Jalen Waddle, and the Patriots have who?
Who is New England's best receiver? Is it Myers? Is it Kendrick Bourne? Like, what are we doing here?
I'm guessing they might tell you it's Devontae Parker for the 8 games he'll play.
Yeah, and Parker did not play yesterday because he's already injured.
There you go.
So something to keep in mind.
Andrew's saying picking up Tyreek Hill was a big move. It is between Pat Mahomes playing quarterback and Tua playing quarterback.
Yes, but Miami, you can argue, just needed one more piece to help the offense stretch out a little bit to open up some stuff underneath. The point is they still have Hill and Waddle. Miami's defense has been good the last couple of years, especially with that secondary, which is very good when healthy. So you can really look on paper. If you toss the coaches out, New England might have either the worst team in the division or they're like neck and neck with the Jets. Like, it's a really bad roster.
Right.
So
I would agree with that.
But anyway, to go back to what you were asking before about the preseason games tonight, I was actually just on Morning Wood, and we covered every game. So I actually have a lot of opinions on the games. My favorite...
Are there any games that you would think that you would actually watch?
The Jets are playing. I'll probably watch a bit of that. I might watch a little bit of the Lions game. I like the Lions tonight. I liked them yesterday when it was a pick'em. Now it's -2.5. But I saw Smith as the coach of the Falcons last year, and they were arguably the worst preseason team I've ever seen. The Lions didn't win any preseason games last year either, but I don't know if you want to buy into the hard knocks and the overall mentality of the team. It seems like they care, and I do think they'll be motivated for the game. Atlanta's quarterback situation, I have problems with. Mariota was a gadget quarterback in the Wildcat last year. Now he's starting. Ritter has never played an NFL game, so I wonder how he's going to look in his first NFL action. And their third-string quarterback is somehow still Felipe Franks. Somehow.
All right.
And all I'm saying is, if you're looking at comparing them, Detroit has Goff, who is going to play probably a series or two. Then you have Blau and you have Boyle. Now, Blau and Boyle are not NFL regular season quarterbacks you want, but they're preseason veterans. They played in a bunch of preseason games, and I think the Lions want it more at home. So I like the Lions because I think the Falcons should be awful in the preseason once again. And I also like the Jets. You're looking at the Eagles situation. Sirianni last year did not give a damn about the preseason. Hurts might play one series. I do like Minshew. I like Sinet as well, so I do like their quarterback, I'd say, trio there. But the Jets have arguably the best quarterback depth chart in the preseason. You have Wilson, who might play a quarter because he's still young, but he might get more run time. You have Flacco, who's an extreme veteran, playing a decent amount of preseason potentially for these next couple games. And you have Mike White as a third-string quarterback. Like, that's a really good preseason quarterback carousel, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, what are you going to get out of Flacco at this point?
Apparently, he's been killing it in camp.
Well, he's throwing against air.
That's the point. How good is Philly's second stringers? Probably air light.
Andrew wants to know about the Jags. Is Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne playing tonight?
According to reports, Lawrence is definitely playing. Etienne, I think, is. I'm not totally sure. I think he's going to play. I am leaning to the over for that Jets-Eagles game because I do like the quarterbacks involved on both sides. Rise mentioned that the Eagles have not had a padded practice yet. That's not exactly ideal. But the Jets were undefeated in the preseason last year. A lot of preseason handicapping comes down to motivation and if the coaches actually care. It seems like Saleh actually cares about the preseason. It seems like Sirianni does not. So I like the Jets.
What do you make of Deshaun Watson? He's supposed to start for Cleveland.
I think he's going to play maybe a quarter. It's really tough when it's a preseason game. You don't know if he's going to play in the regular season. You paid him a bunch of money, and he hasn't played in about a year. So it's a weird spot to figure out how much he should be playing. But if he played a quarter, would that really surprise you? Because Watson hasn't been on a football field in game action for over a year. Like, he probably should be playing close to a quarter, shouldn't he be?
He should be, but I mean, like you said, we don't know if he's actually going to play when the regular season starts or not. We don't know how long it's going to take for this appeal to go through and be handed down. Speaking of, do you think that the appeal will end up being longer than what we've seen? Will Goodell get his way and have it be at least a full season ban?
Well, this is going to be a circus because I guarantee you, if it's a year, the NFLPA is suing. So you have a separate can of worms of if Watson can play while there's a countersuit going on about the 1-year suspension.
But can they countersue again after they had already said that they were going to, after they let it go the first time?
It's the NFLPA. you know that they don't exactly want
This is
Goodell to
true.
they don't want Goodell to get away with anything. Worst case is they'll create a media circus around it. So
Valid point.
Watson might be able to play during the regular season while the appeal's going on. We'll see what happens there. But for the sake of this game, I am going to lean to Cleveland. I mentioned that motivation matters, and Stefanski so far as a head coach is undefeated in the preseason. That's good enough for me.
But come on, it's Doug Peterson.
Yeah, and they already played a game. That's why Jacksonville's favored, because they did play the Hall of Fame game. Technically, they got run out of the building, so they weren't there emotionally, but they were there physically. I am going to take Cleveland, though. I like Brissett as a backup quarterback option in the preseason. I'm not sure what Jacksonville's going to do, because last week when they played, they had Luton, they had Slaughter, and that was kind of what they ended up doing. But now Lawrence is playing, and Beathard's playing. Slaughter looked like their best quarterback last week, but now you have 4 quarterbacks.
I thought they dumped Slaughter the other day.
Well, the point is that Slaughter was arguably the best quarterback that played in that game, and now either they got rid of him or he's not going to get any reps. And Beathard was injured.
They cut him and they brought back E.J. Perry.
Yeah, so the point is Beathard is back, but he was missing some time, so he might be rusty. Luton didn't look good at all, and Lawrence hasn't played. I mean, we're going to see how Lawrence does, but I don't really like Jacksonville's quarterback situation for this game compared to Cleveland. So I'm going to go with the Browns.
Scary to back the Browns, but, you know,
in
like we said, it's
preseason,
preseason. Also, true. And also, just as a heads up, Kirk Cousins will not play this week. He apparently tested positive for COVID, so he will not be playing for Minnesota. That line quickly shifted. It was 2.5. Now it's the Raiders by 4.
For the record, I like the Raiders anyway in that game because the Raiders seem to always care about preseason. And from what I saw in the Hall of Fame game, yes, Jacksonville sucked, but the Raiders were using Josh Jacobs on the opening couple drives of the Hall of Fame game, which, for better or worse, happened.
Right.
It seems like the Raiders actually care. That was my main takeaway from the Hall of Fame game. The Raiders were out for blood.
Yeah, I mean, they basically were. And Jacksonville, like you said, Jacksonville didn't really care. They were just trying to get out of there healthy. What about the other 2 games? Arizona, Cincinnati, Green Bay, San Francisco. Anything jump out at you on those 2?
Arizona, Cincinnati, the total's about 31. I'm leaning under, but there's no chance I play anything in that game. I think that's easily the worst game on the card for football. And I'm going to take the Niners against Green Bay. Trey Lance is expected to play. Garoppolo is not going to, but you're looking at the quarterback options for San Francisco. They're okay. I'm looking at Green Bay. Rodgers stated publicly that he is not going to play in preseason. He thinks it's a monumental waste of time. So he's not going to play at all, which means you have Jordan Love, who I don't like, and their third-string quarterback, who you're going to use in the second half, is Danny Etling. I watched him in
Purdue.
Purdue and LSU. I watched him in New England for the last couple of years in preseason. I didn't think he was good either. But the fact that Lance is going to play, I think, can sway it enough. I'll take the Niners.
Yeah, I agree. Etling isn't anything to write home about by any stretch of the imagination. San Francisco, so where are we going to see Garoppolo end up? I keep hearing now that, the Browns are kicking the tires in case Watson ends up getting suspended longer than expected. Do you think that's a viable possibility? Will he end up somewhere else?
I don't think it's a viable possibility because on one hand, you'd have to pay a decent amount of his contract. On the other hand, you also already have Brissett, who's very capable of being a spot starter. Why would you trade for Garoppolo, have him crash course the entire playbook, and hope it works out. I think it's too late at that point. I think if you want a Garoppolo, you should have got him about a month ago. You?
Well, maybe it's desperation and you're just trying to cover all your bases, but
is he that big of an upgrade over Brissett? I don't think he's worth assets if you already have Brissett.
That's true. And AJ said 83% of the cash on the bets is going towards the Eagles in that game with the Jets.
But hasn't the line?
Does that concern you at all?
Is that true?
I don't know. You have to ask AJ. That's what he just posted up a second ago. I'll see what if I can find anything about it on good old Action Network and what have you.
I see. What do I see here? Cash. I don't know, because according to the grid I'm looking at, it says 54% of the cash is on the Jets. So I don't know.
Let's see. Jets. I see the lines.
AJS, what are you using to find that? Because I found most of the money on the Jets.
I see the lines down to half, or was that? Oh wait, nope. Now it's down to 1. Okay, so a couple of books have it at half a point now, and Caesars New Jersey apparently has it as a pick'em.
Yeah, I like the Jets, but from what I'm looking at, it seems like 54% of the money's on the Jets. That's what I see. Also interesting, though, according to this, it says that 54% of the money's on the Jets, while there's only 36% of the tickets. Yeah, by the way, AJS, I'm also looking at pregame. If you look at, I believe that's the over that 84% of the money's coming in on. But if you actually look at the grid right now and you move the mouse over to cash, if you click the 54% cash by the Jets, you can scroll down and it tells you what the percentage is on the sides. And I see 54% on the Jets.
I see Action Network says 59% of the tickets are on the Eagles, 41% on the Jets, but 98% is on the under.
Okay. And do you have any money count for the actual side bets?
No, not on this at the second.
Okay.
But yeah, apparently people are not expecting a ton of points there. Of course, it could be because the total jumped, but
yeah,
because it opened at 33.
It's tough to chase totals in preseason, but I actually like the quarterbacks. I would lean over. I'll tell you what, I'm not playing the under. If I was going to play anything on the total, it would be the over.
All right.
Anyway,
so there you go.
You have anything else you want to talk about for football, or should we transition a bit over to baseball?
I think we can go over to baseball now.
Okay.
Unless there's anything else jumping out that anybody wants to talk about.
I don't see anything right now. Yeah, let's transition.
All right, so we'll go to baseball, and we'll start off with the Mariners and the Rangers coming to you from Globe Life Field, Globe Life Park, Globe Life Amusement Center, Globe Life Bowling Alley, whatever you want to call it. The Mariners 61-52, the Rangers below 500. Looks like it's going to be a bullpen day for Texas. Josh Sborz getting the start for the Rangers. He's pitched 15 in the third innings this year. He's going to go against George Kirby, who's pretty well as a rookie. Scott, this would have been Spencer Howard's start, but unfortunately, he's on the injured list.
That's a damn shame.
I know. I knew you were disappointed.
Yeah. It's sad, but I'm going to go with Seattle, obviously. They actually just activated J-Rod, so he's back in the lineup, which is big. Spores, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. They're not good. Kirby's been good. Texas has been awful lately, and Seattle just won a series against the Yankees. I'll take Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle 14-2 in their last 60 on the road against teams with a losing record. Texas not playing well at home or against teams with a winning record. 3-14 in their last 17 against teams above 500. I mean, give the Raiders credit. They can hit. Outside of, Perez, they don't really pitch that well.
No.
So, there you go. We'll take the Mariners there. And then, of course, everybody's favorite. It's an NL East battle. It's Max Scherzer and the Mets at home against Rangers, Suarez, and the Phillies. Big series here for Philadelphia, who was cruising along until yesterday when, of course, they were shut down by, not Alcantara. They were shut down by Edward Cabrera. Scott, were you surprised by that?
Bases loaded, no outs in the bottom of the ninth, and they scored nothing.
Yeah, they were like the White Sox.
Not good.
But Suarez, he's 8-5, 368 earned run average. His whip's kind of high for a guy that's got a winning record.
Yeah.
But you're facing Scherzer, who's got a sub-2 ERA, a sub-0.9 whip, and his strikeout to walk rate is better than 7-1. Lex says based off trends, Suarez will give up no runs this game.
Well, DeGrom's not pitching, so the Mets actually might give run support.
These teams, two of the top offenses in the league. Schwarber, I guess, is questionably strained his calf yesterday. Do you think that impacts the Phillies at all?
Why? Because he's their best player with Harper being out?
Well,
yes.
I was just thinking,
I think it impacts.
Best power hitter. I don't know how to call him his best player.
You can argue this year he's been their best player, but still, I'm looking at
205 average or whatever it is.
Yeah, but he's still a home run masher. He's the leadoff hitter some of the time, but I'm leaning under. I'll go with the Mets first 5 though. I don't know if I really want the Mets bullpen involved because the Phillies found a way to win a decent amount of games lately, but with Schwarber being out or potentially being out, I wouldn't mind maybe a Philly first 5 team total under. I just expect Scherzer to deal. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah. I'm not expecting in this one, but
Yeah.
Nathan's saying no Schwarber or Harper, so they're kind of limping in here to the Big Apple to go to Citi Field. Lex saying that he's looking for the game to go under. Lane says he loves the pitching edge for the Mets. I mean, if you get right down to it and it's 0-0 in the 7th, and you come down to the Phillies bullpen and the Mets bullpen, which way are you going to lean? I mean, can you put any faith in the Phillies bullpen outside of Dominguez?
I mean, the Phillies bullpen's been better for the last month and change, but I guess the issue I have with the Mets is that Diaz is very good, but I'm still not sold on the setup guys. Do you really like Seth Lugo and Michael Givens? Because I don't.
Well, I mean, but do you like them any better than Familia or Brad Hand or...
Hand's actually been good this year. I'll give Hand some props. He's actually been okay.
All right. Well, what about Familia?
Well, is he still on the team?
Yeah, he's still on the team.
He sucks. That's a given. That's a pure given. But I like the Mets. I think the Mets first 5 is the way I'd go, probably -0.5.
Yeah, Rye said that the Mets smacked Suarez around in his last outing against them. Also, the Mets 15-3 in their last 18 after a win. Phillies 0-4 last 4 meetings overall with the Mets.
Yep.
Rye says the Phillies are a top 5 bullpen in the last 45 days.
Yeah.
Are you only basing that on 4 teams?
No. The bullpen's been good. According to numbers, they've really turned it around, but people are still biased against this bullpen because of what happened earlier in the year. That's why I'm staying away from the bullpens, because I will acknowledge that Philly has been better. Familia is not there anymore. Yeah, Rye confirmed it. I thought they got rid of him. But
last time I checked, he was still there.
Let me see.
There was talk that some guy put up a Twitter report saying he is gone. He's in the minors with Boston.
Yeah, he should be gone. He sucks. Yeah, he's gone. But I'm going to go with the first 5 Mets. Give me Scherzer pitching well against a team that might be without Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to look at their bullpen here because every time I watch Nabel pitch, he sucks. Bilotti, he hasn't impressed me at all. I didn't even realize Jose Alvarado was still pitching.
Yeah, still around.
And then I've seen what Nick Nelson has pitched. He's been inconsistent. Not impressed by him.
Former Yankee. Thought he was terrible.
Like you said, Hand has been good. I don't see why Dominguez isn't the closer over Nabel anyway.
Yeah, he should be.
But yeah, those numbers aren't all that great. I get that they've been better lately. I just don't trust them. Nathan asks, is there value with the run line with the Mets?
Plus 105, I think there is. I mean, Suarez is a lefty, and if you want to look at how well the Mets have done against lefties this season, they've been pretty good against lefties. It's also in Citi Field, and we know that it's a little bit easy to hit the ball out to left.
Right.
I mean, I think that the Mets could hit a couple of home runs here. Wouldn't surprise me if Alonso went deep, maybe Lindor. We'll see. But, yeah, I like the Mets.
Yeah, Suarez 1-2 with a 5.09 ERA, a 1.868 WHIP, 10 walks, 13 strikeouts over 17 2/3 in 10 appearances, 3 starts against the Mets in his career. His ERA could be a lot worse. 5 of the 15 runs he's allowed are unearned.
Yeah.
And that's something you always got to watch for, too, because bad fielding, you can't give the Mets extra outs.
And the Phillies did a terrible job fielding yesterday. It's one of the reasons why they lost to Miami yesterday.
There you go.
So.
Let's see. That takes us to 2 for the money, Scott.
Yep.
I'm going to ride the Yankees over the Red Sox. It's your favorite guy, German, going against Eovaldi.
Look, German has not looked impressive when he pitches, but you look at the last couple outings, he's actually been okay.
Are you surprised that the number is this low, given how poorly Boston has played over the last 6 or 7 weeks?
Because the Yankees have been terrible too. So I think if you want to make an argument for buying a good price, I guess it's the Yankees. They have lost 7 of 8, but they're the much better team than Boston, and you're getting minus 115. So I guess that's the argument. Eovaldi's been a mess. So that could be a problem. Eovaldi has been good against the Yankees in the past, so we'll see what actually happens.
He also pitched for the Yankees in the past, so I mean...
He did. I always liked Eovaldi. Then he had the Tommy John surgery, but still, I don't mind it for the price, but I think I'd rather take the over in this game. I'm not sold on either pitcher in Fenway.
But come on, German's only given up 5 runs in his last 3 starts.
I know, but he also has only gone like 5 innings, and the Yankees' bullpen's been a mess. The Yankees insist on using Albert Abreu in every big situation, and he sucks. He's just awful. Every damn time.
That's how you really feel about him.
They sent down Marinaccio. He had like a .5 ERA in his last like 18 outings, and they sent him down to the minors. It's ridiculous.
We talked about the Mets already. I'm going to take the Twins behind Tyler Mahle over the Angels. You talk about a team that can't hit. They didn't look good against Oakland earlier this week, and we're talking about Oakland. The Twins, sadly, still in the playoff race, despite the fact that they've underachieved horribly all season long. Mahle's probably, I don't know, would you call him the front of the rotation starter for the Twins now?
Can I say that if he barely pitched for the team? I don't
know.
I'm
just saying going forward, do you consider him the front of the rotation guy?
I think he's number 2. I think Sonny Gray is 1.
You would look at that. Two former Reds at the front of the rotation for the Twins.
If you're asking me who I think's the best pitcher in the rotation from what I've seen up to this point, it's going to be Sonny Gray. I don't think it's a great number 1, but I think he's the number 1. Do you?
I don't know. I like Mahle better than I like Gray.
Okay. I'm going by numbers this year, so I'll go with Gray.
Well, but Gray at least was pitching for the Twins. He wasn't pitching for a team that was started 3-22.
Yeah, but that also implies the record. I'm talking about ERA purpose. Gray's been good.
Well, but he's another guy that, like you said about German, he doesn't go deep in games.
Yeah, not at all.
Then we got the Giants. It's Rodon against, Bryce Wilson?
Yeah, Wilson's been okay lately, but as a whole, we know Rodon's much better. And the Pirates are awful on the road.
They can win this one. The Giants can win this one 2-0.
They really could, but I do expect the Giants to get some runs across. We saw Pittsburgh's bullpen implode yesterday. I'm looking to see a decent amount of opportunities for the Giants in this game.
So do you think they could get to, could the Giants get to 4, maybe 5?
They could. I think if they get to 3, they might be good, to be honest.
Andrew says the wind is blowing out at Oracle Park about 15 to 16 miles an hour.
Get your Mound Castle props ready.
So that means the Pirates. I don't have it. Yeah, Nate said the Orioles gave a good screwing yesterday. I figured that they would have beaten Winkowski. They fell behind early and couldn't dig their way out.
Well, they came back, then they gave up the run.
But true. Orioles is they get Tampa Bay today. You have any thoughts about what is it? Is Austin Voth going today? Yeah, Voth and Klubat.
Oh boy, I gotta like Baltimore, don't I? I mean, What did Tampa do against Milwaukee? They did nothing. Like Kluber's been okay, Voth isn't good, but you're gonna keep giving me.
They lost to Milwaukee.
Yeah, you're gonna give me plus money with the Orioles. Like I can't say no to this. Like Baltimore has been a cash cow.
That's true. So I agree with Lex. I think the Orioles are in good shape here.
Yeah.
We'll go to 4 for the show. Gonna stick with the old CFL game there, where the Tiger Cats, Hamilton. They lost last week when I backed them in this exact matchup, and now they won't have Dane Evans, their starting quarterback. So it'll be Matthew Schultz getting the start for Hamilton. That doesn't bode well. Never a good thing when you have to play your backup quarterback at this point of the season. Hamilton opened as a short favorite. I like this line a little bit better when it was half a point in favor of Toronto, but 1.5 still isn't that bad. And even the money line is good at -115.
Yeah. Toronto's the better team, in my opinion.
Yeah. The Dodgers team total over. Scott, they've averaged 6.4 runs a game over the past month.
I can't believe you're selling on Daniel Lynch. Shocked, I tell you, shocked.
Well, I mean, come on, Steve's not here to talk about how great Daniel Lynch is.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, they've averaged 6.4 runs a game over the last one. Joey Gallo homered the other night.
Pinch hit, 3-run homer.
Yeah, he said people aren't booing me all the time now. So he wasn't used to that.
Oh, because he's not playing that much.
This is my upset special. I'm going to go with the Guardians over the Blue Jays.
Okay.
It's Quantrill going as Barrios.
You got to like the team total, right? Quantrill's the run support king.
Exactly. But I mean, let's face it, Jose Barrios has been terrible. Can you have any faith in him to give you a consistent outing?
No. I don't trust Toronto at all right now.
I mean, everybody's talking about how, Toronto's bats are good. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't pitch.
It's also worth talking about how the Yankees have been struggling. They've lost 7 of 8. And yet you look up at the standings, they're still up double-digit games because Toronto has done absolutely nothing for the last 2 weeks. They've had a golden opportunity to cut into the division lead, and the Yankees are still up double-digit games because Toronto has been really, really underwhelming lately.
Yeah, they've lost 4 of their last 5. They lost 2 or 3 to the Twins, and they lost the 2 games to Baltimore. I should say they lost 2 out of their last 3 to the Twins. They split that 4-game set because they won the opener, but what's going on with the Blue Jays? I mean, their pitching hasn't been great. I mean, Manoah struggled in his last start. We've talked about the Cooch being basically an auto fade.
Yep.
Gaussman is probably the best 500 area or range pitcher that you're going to find in the majors because something inevitably goes wrong whenever he pitches. His FIP is slightly over 2, but he's like 8-8. Barrios has been awful, and now Mitch White made a start for them. You've had Stripling in the back of the rotation. What in the world is going on with the Blue Jays pitching?
It's not good. That's really how I'd sum it up quickly. But yeah, it just sums it up though with Toronto. And this did not happen with Philly because Philly actually has looked sharp. But the Angels fired their manager. They still suck. We've seen Toronto fire their manager. They've been streaky. They were streaky with Montoyo there in the first place.
Right.
Changing managers usually doesn't do much unless the replacement's a really good option. But if a team has an identity of being relatively streaky or underperforming, occasionally they'll wake up. We know that Philly has talent. But you're looking at some of these other teams, and the Blue Jays are basically the exact same team that we thought they were when they had their old manager. They'll win a couple games in a row, then they'll suck the next week, then they'll be good again, and it's an endless cycle. So nothing's really changed.
And you're facing a Cleveland team that comes in with 5 straight wins. They haven't given up more than 3 runs in any of those games. And that streak started when Quantrill threw 6 scoreless against the Astros.
Yeah.
I mean, this line actually opened where Toronto was going off about minus 185. I mean, it came back down to the realm of somewhat could be considered normal. And it's gone down since I did this slide because now they're down to Cleveland's down to between 135 and 145. Should Toronto be at minus 165 in this game, as they've played lately?
Based on current form, no. Based on Berrios starting, no. I think all the values on Cleveland in this game.
There you go. And how about the Padres team total over 5.5?
Yeah, they're against the Nationals. Why not?
Corey Abbott pitching for the Nationals. In case you're wondering, he was roughed up by the Phillies in his last start, gave up 7 runs, walked 5, gave up 4 homers. Now you got to face San Diego.
To make it fair, they should let him and Costello pitch.
To make it fair, they should make the Padres hit with wiffle ball bats.
Yeah, I still like the over with the wiffle ball bats. But yeah, I think we saw San Diego score 13 runs last game. I mean,
the last 2 games they scored 20.
They scored 20 the last 2 games. Everybody got a hit in the last game. I just think they have too many weapons. And if you want to look at the overall weather, Nationals Park right now is pulling it up.
No
Nationals
problem.
Park today is roughly neutral, according to Ballpark Pal, plus 2% runs. I still expect San Diego to get to 6 or 7 in this game, maybe more.
Lex pointing out that you guys should be hitting the like button and all that other good stuff on YouTube because he said, "What the fudge, people? Only 9 likes." Yeah, what the hell's wrong with you people? There should be about 300 likes by now.
Fudge.
You're slacking off. Yeah, fudge.
Yep.
Gardenhoser.
Rosenbagger. Warm up.
Runamucker.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you were to bet those 4 right there on the money line, about 16-1.
It's not bad.
On your money, so can't complain about that.
Yeah.
Nathan said those dirty Nationals should get woodshedded.
They should. That's the key word. Should's the key word. That's why they play the games.
That's true. Just as a side note, I think they said Corey Abbott is giving up about a 13% barrel rate this season. That's like second worst in the majors.
So almost as many barrels as a brewery.
Exactly. The funny thing is, you know who's got the worst record? He's pitching tonight, or who's got the worst number? He's pitching tonight too. Daniel Norris pitching for the Tigers.
Okay, there we go.
And that'll stream into part of the shot in the dark. Lex, you had to Google what a wiffle ball bat was?
It's the smallest. It looks like a damn broom handle.
I mean, we play wiffle ball all the time around here. I'm surprised. You play wiffle ball growing up, Scott?
A little bit. Sometimes on like Saturday afternoons, my dad would throw around a wiffle ball. I can't say he knew how to make it curve, but I would hit it in the park.
All right. We'll go to shot in the dark. Everybody knows it's Dean's fault. How about Anthony Rizzo going over 1.5 total bases tonight, Scott? Got any thoughts on that?
I'm just happy he's healthy again. Welcome back, Rizzo. We're going to need you.
Paul Goldschmidt, we had him on there yesterday. Panned out in the 2 for the money segment, because we had him in the Cubs.
Well, we mentioned the props for him, Arenado, home runs on basically everybody. They both homered, and what do you know? You had about 14 runs in the game. So
Goldschmidt had, I think, 7 total bases.
Something like that. Arenado had a homer and a couple other hits. And yeah, if you had any over of any kind, you did well yesterday in the Rockies game.
Except C.J. Cron, because he didn't play, which I found out afterwards. Kyle Tucker from the Astros. I took him over Alvarez just because of the fact that, he's a little faster. He might be able to leg one out for a double. And Alvarez was going at minus, I think, 130 or something like that.
Oh, it was actually a minus today. Look at the odds makers making some adjustments.
I know. I was surprised. I was shocked and outraged. But, I mean, it's Adam Oller going for the A's. Anything good you want to say about him?
He made me money last time he pitched.
There you go.
So there you go. I didn't bet on him, but he made me money. So we're kind of friends.
Rance says betting minus 150 run line is dumb. The Yankees on the run line shouldn't be minus 150. because they're only minus 115 on the money line. I had them at plus 135 on the run line.
Unless he's saying plus 1.5.
I
doubt that would be worth like 30 cents. I do agree with the Yankees.
Why would you take the Yankees plus one? At minus 1.5, they're plus 135.
Yeah, I was trying to.
I mean, Boston plus 1.5 is minus 155.
Okay, maybe that's what he means. But either way, I think the Yankees are too low in terms of price. They're not playing well. Neither's Boston, and Boston fared well against the Yankees last time out. But I am looking at Eovaldi's numbers, and I don't like what I see.
Yeah. Scott, how about Juan Soto getting plus money to go over 1.5 total bases in his return to Washington?
In his first game, revenge-wise, he's either going to walk 4 times or he's going to hit a home run. There's no middle ground. It's going to be one of the two.
And there we go. There's Jose Abreu. He's faced Daniel Norris 22 times. He's got 10 hits, so a 455 average. He's homered twice. There's not a whole lot of numbers there that you could that you could stay out there that says Norris is good.
It's a nice plus price for Abreu.
Same thing with Ramirez. He's at plus 138. I'm not really getting it. I know that, what are they going to do, walk him a bunch of times?
I guess, but we know Berrios isn't very good, and he's prone to giving up the long ball, so Ramirez could take him deep.
The Diamondbacks over the Rockies at Coors. It's Zach Davies and Antonio Senzatella.
I'm surprised you're backing Davies on this one. I know they've been playing decent baseball lately. Backing Davies and Coors. Interesting.
Yeah, he's due.
Okay, sure.
And it's also, I was thinking about putting the Baltimore game in there, but I didn't want to jinx it and have Baltimore lose.
I think I'm leaning Colorado in this game.
Are you?
Yeah.
The one game I was. The other game I
played against St. Louis.
True. The other game I was looking at that I wasn't sure about. What do you make of Milwaukee St. Louis at Busch Stadium? Lauer and Montgomery.
I like the under in that game.
It's under 7.5.
It was 8 when I saw it, but you're looking at the actual weather. Winds blowing in pretty handily. According to Ballpark Pal, negative 8% runs, so you should see wind play a factor. But it's a meaningful series. They're going to be fighting for possession of first place, and I think it's going to be a pitcher's duel. So I'm going to go with the under.
Well, I mean, with the way Milwaukee hits or doesn't hit, every game can be a pitcher's duel. Yeah. Which way would you lean there? Would you lean towards Montgomery, the ex-Yankee?
I actually think I would. I don't feel great about it, but I think the Cardinals they're just so good at home. I'll go with St. Louis.
Battle of lefties there, too.
Yep.
Then I'm going to look at George Kirby over 5.5 strikeouts. Let's face it, it's Texas. He's not they're not all that great. Male over 6.5 against the Angels. How many times have we seen the Angels strike out a whole crap load of times lately?
Every day.
Pretty much. And do you think Herman can get 5 strikeouts over Boston?
It's really about distance. Do you think he even gets into the 6th inning?
He might get a batter in the 6th inning.
Okay, and maybe he can get it. It's plus money, so I can't roast you too hard for the play.
I mean, Boston's strikeout rate.
They strike out a bunch.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where my numbers were on that. In the last couple of months, or no, what? It's the last one. Let's see. Here we go. Where the hell is he? Herman. They project him around. Yeah, let's see. Boston's strikeout rate is 23%.
That's high.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll continue and he can actually, punch out some dudes.
Yeah.
Lane says he's going to go with the Mariners, the Twins, the Yankees, the Orioles, and the Guardians all on the money line at about 30-1.
Yeah, quarter unit. Live a little.
What do you make of those games, Scott?
Well, we talked about pretty much all of those games, so I kind of have to be on board. The one thing that might potentially give me a little bit of pause would be the Yankees, but I do like the price. So if you want to talk about a value play, I think the Yankees should be closer to minus 135 if I was pricing it myself. But I guess, based on current form, they could lose to anybody at this point. Yeah, I think that's fine. Are you concerned at all about Molly making his first start with the Twins? Just change of scenery, or the Angels are so bad you don't really care?
Well, technically, it would be a second start. He already started for the Twins.
Yep.
So he pitched against Toronto last Friday.
Okay.
Gave up 4 runs on 5 hits, walked 5 strikeouts. He got tagged for the long ball, but like we talked about, outside of Ohtani, is there anybody in the Angels lineup that you think is going to take you deep?
Rengifo occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally. But I mean,
that's it. I mean,
yeah, the guys that homered off him, sure, Santiago Espinal might be a bit of a reach, but the other 2 guys that homered off him were Chapman and Vlad.
Yeah.
So outside of, I know that it seems like it was a rough outing for him. It's the most homers he gave up in a game, but you got to remember, Molly gave up no homers in April, 5 in May, 4 in June. So he's not necessarily prone to give up the long ball, and pitching in Anaheim, you always get that. Seems like people don't want to hit for power there. And just looking at the Angels lineup, it's let's see,
it's something. It's not good, but it's something.
That's about it. I mean, Stassi's hitting 211. Velasquez is hitting. How does he even have a job when he's hitting 177?
Former Yankee, entertaining hometown kid, couldn't hit for crap.
Yeah, tell me about it. 92 strikeouts and 254 at bats.
Yeah, he's awful. If you watch him play, he can't hit. He's bad.
Marsh got traded. Let's see, Ward. Well, at least Ward's hitting 269.
I was going to say, is Ward even still healthy at this point?
Well, I don't see him marked on the injured list, so there's that.
I believe he's still healthy, but I know he's been a bit injury-prone this season, so keep that in mind. But, yeah, 229,000. It's a fun time.
Yeah.
You have anything else you want to add, or?
No, I mean, let's just say in Mariners, the Orioles on the run line in the first 5.
Okay.
The under 4.5 for the first 5. I'm guessing
that's the truth.
Lex, are you saying because I mean Detroit is playing the White Sox? No, wait, is it the White Sox? No.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, it is. Yeah, it's Kopech and Norris. That's right. And then Cleveland has Toronto. And the alternate run line.
The alternate runs is the team total for
under 6.5 for the.
It's an alternative team.
I mean,
total.
what's the total for the Mets game? Isn't it 7?
I
thought you were talking about the alternate total.
No, it's the alternative.
That's Suarez and Scherzer.
The alternative team total for the Mets.
That'd be a hell of a bump then, because
at least I think
you're bumping the alternate. I'm hoping it was the full game total, because you have to make it a hell of a bump, because you'd have to think the Mets team total is what, 3.5, maybe 4, or somewhere in that range.
The Mets one, it's got to be higher than that. The Mets team total is going to be 4.5 or something, because they're minus 200 on the money line. So they're expecting the Phillies.
The Mets are playing the Phillies.
Runs. Yeah,
so I mean, to go for under 6.5, doesn't that seem like a bit of a swing?
It could be. I don't know, but yeah. You have any other plays you want to mention? Get off your chest, or that's basically it?
No, I think we got everything covered.
Okay. So before we wrap up, though, a couple of announcements to make. Talking about BetMGM, they have a great deal for first-time users of their app or website. Get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. All the information is in the show box. And as always, check the age limits and bet responsibly. And last but not least, a quick announcement for next week's programming. We're going to go back to college football previews for conferences. We went through the Power 5 conferences a couple weeks ago. Now we're going to go through some of the Group of 5 conferences. We're going to start off with the Conference USA on Monday, so stay tuned for that. We'll go through our outrights and stuff like that, maybe a win total thrown in there. So we'll get some college football coverage there. But until then, hope everybody has a nice weekend, and good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.